Welcome to the More Life, Less Drama podcast with mindset expert and master executive coach, Prue Sulicic, who will teach you how to finish your first goal and then every goal using her simple, proven formula. If you're ready to live more life, have more fun, and reach your potential with less drama, you're in the right place.
G'day, it's Prue here from More Life, Less Drama, and today I'm bringing you a podcast episode that is really super exciting to me because it shows me something that I've been feeling for a long time but didn't actually have any metrics around, and it's something that I've never done before. I'm going to share something really personal with you, and that is my DISC profile results, and don't worry, I'll tell you what DISC is in a minute. What I'm doing is I'm going to share with you the results that I got this week from a DISC profile I did of myself, and also looking at the one that I did 6 years ago back in 2019 when I just became a coach. And the most important thing about this is it's definitely not about me, like I'm not making this podcast about me. It is about showing you the massive shift that personal growth has given me. So the shifts between the 2019 version of Prue and the 2025 version of Prue, and how they are completely different. And this is a good thing because it is definitely about personal growth for me. And the 2019 version of me was very frustrated with myself and knew I had a lot of flaws that I wanted to work on intentionally. And even though over the last 6 years, I sort of forgot about a lot of these things, it just has become who I am. So looking at these two metrics side by side has been an incredible eye-opening experience, and I'm going to share that with you today. So firstly, what is DISC? So let me give you a quick rundown of what DISC is in case you've never heard of it before. DISC is a behavioral assessment tool that helps you understand how you naturally operate in the world. There's so many things out there like this, but DISC seems to have been around for a while, and a lot of corporate entities use it when they are doing recruitment or things like that. And I know I went to a conference recently within BNI, which is a business networking group, and that room was filled with what we call Ds, and you'll understand maybe why when I talk to you about it. And I remember thinking to myself, knowing my past results, thinking, oh wow, I am so not in my room right now. This is not the room that I feel super comfortable with because it's completely opposite to how I am. Anyway, that's a side note. So let's go back to the DISC. So yes, behavioral assessment tool, and the 4 quadrants of DISC sound like this. There's D for dominance, and this is how you respond to problems and challenges. Influence is how you interact with others and show emotion. Steadiness, your pace and how you respond to change. And conscientiousness, how you approach rules, structure, and details. Now, just a little caveat here, I'm not a DISC expert. I'm just a taker of the DISC assessment and have utilized AI to help me break down what my 2 results mean and what it means for me, because again, I'm not an expert. So if you want an expert in this field of DISC assessment tool, please go find yourself a person that can help you and walk you through this. There are plenty out there, plenty of people who know what they're doing with DISC, and I highly recommend you, if you're really interested in doing it, go and finding those people. The DISC model was created by psychologist William Marston in the 1920s, so it's pretty old. It's now widely used in leadership, hiring, communication, and coaching. And Tony Robbins has a popular version of the assessment that includes both DISC and motivational drivers, and that's the one I used. So in 2019, I used that one, and again, just this week in 2025, I also used the Tony Robbins version of it. Okay, let's look at the details. So the then versus now. Now that you get an understanding of what DISC is, and again, please go and search more information if you need it, because I've just given you a really brief overview. My first result from 2019 came back as the style of coach. Made sense, right? I just stepped into coaching, and it was high S, I in order, S, I, and then a little bit of C. No D in there. There's never going to be any D for me, absolutely. That means I was a blend of S, which is steady, and I, influencing, and a little bit of C, which is conscientiousness. Now let me translate that for you. I was warm, people-focused, and highly and deeply empathetic. That was true. Tick. Still is. I was driven by relationships, not results. That is so true. I think of the 2019 version of myself and I didn't really even think about results. I was not thinking in any sort of metrics. I remember when I started, I was in a job and I had this project that come up and it was about business mentorship and things like that. And they started talking about metrics and I was like, can you please tell me what metrics means? That was how non-switched on to metrics and business analysis I was even at that stage. I just had no idea what business metrics meant. And so now that makes so much sense because I was more about building relationships and connecting with people and not the results. One thing that possibly is still the same, but definitely from the 2019 version of me, was I avoided conflict. I still do on one level, but I feel very much more capable and confident and competent at bringing things up, even if they're hard today. So back in 2019, I was not bringing up anything. Even if I was like stewing inside about anything, I would be like people pleasing and nod and like, yeah, and agree with everything that you said. You might have known that version of me. It's not really a great version of me. I'm not super proud of that version. It kept me safe. Yes, that was great, but it really didn't satisfy my life and my life goals. The next point was I was highly supportive of others, but to my own detriment. So I would say yes to everything and everybody, agree with everything and everybody, even if it meant disagreeing with my own value system or putting myself last. So you can imagine, as somebody that is very people pleasing, I will say yes to everything, quietly hate you for it, for even asking, even though it's my problem, and then sort of let you down in different ways. I was highly supportive of others and thinking about others always. And back in 2019, like 5 years ago, I was more in the thick of motherhood and being like the martyr in motherhood as well. So that makes sense for that part of my life. But it was always to my own detriment. I was a resentful, frustrated woman back in 2019 and it definitely seeped out of me. Like the people closest to me, knew that I was frustrated and resentful and I couldn't contain it. I contained it for the rest of the world, but not around the people closest to me. And one other thing that I was in 2019 was I listened deeply, loved helping, but lacked any structure. Like, great. It's great that I could listen. It's great that I could hear people because I still can. I still have this great ability to hear people. But not having any sort of structure to help people, that's really not that supportive, right? Like, yeah, it's great to be an ear. Anyone can be an ear, but having some sort of structure to support people through that and make changes, that's a huge difference between then and now. Most of that sounds lovely, right? I loved listening. I was highly supportive of others. I was warm and people focused and deeply empathetic. But here's the problem. Me personally, inside was spinning my wheels. I couldn't get things finished. I would start so many things, have so many great ideas, but would never finish them. I would start a diet every other week. I would have a business idea. I'd start a craft project, then I'd start a book. I used to have so many books half finished back then. And I knew I wasn't showing up in the way that I wanted to show up. It was highly frustrating and highly disappointing when I couldn't even keep the promises that I had for myself, let alone like stepping into being a new coach and helping others do that potentially. That wasn't really congruent thinking back on it now. I also just want to say here, back then, I had started to make changes and I could really see it, and I was doing a lot of self-work. So I felt that I was maybe a step ahead of people, but still that is a huge difference to where I am right now. So fast forward to now, and the DISC assessment that I did just this week, I came back as something different. Now, before I just continue, I want to say I've heard plenty of people say that they just fill out these assessments without a lot of truth. Maybe they think about how they want to be and they fill out these forms and they answer the questions from what they think they should say. I just want to say to you, when I filled this one out, I think it was on Monday, I did it fully in full honesty about how I am right now. And I honestly was surprised at the results. That just tells me something else too. It tells me that because I was so surprised at my results, it tells me that I am still thinking or believing something about myself that is no longer true. Which, now that I have these results, I'm like, oh my God, I can fully step into this. Anyway, that's a little side note. So I do feel these things out with full honesty. I really sit where I am right now and answer exactly from my brain how it is right now, not with the shoulds or the expectation of, I really should fill it out this way to look better. No, I'm doing these things with complete honesty because I want to know this detail about myself. I don't want to have flaky results. I want to have really accurate results. And I remember the 2019 results that I got. I read those results and I went, boom, that is exactly me. Exactly. And so I just wanted to make a note about that there because I know plenty of people might be going for jobs and they fill out these assessments with what they think the employer is looking for. Just want to tell you, that's not me. So back to my results. My DISC results for 2025 came back as formalist, and I was like, what does even that mean? Anyway, it's basically just a fancy way of saying I lead with C, conscientiousness. Would you believe that? I am so stoked at this. You would not believe how excited I am to read this result. It means I am structured. I'm precise. I'm deeply focused on execution. Like, who knew? This girl that was flaky with everything, that couldn't even do or follow through with anything, has focus on execution and how to do things and is precise? No way. This is so exciting. I value accuracy, process, and results over emotion. Far out. This makes me so excited. I never thought I would value results over emotion. I thought I was just going to be like this big emotional ball of nervousness my whole entire life. So hearing and seeing these results is just, this is why I'm doing this podcast, because I'm like, people have to hear about this. People have to hear how all this work that we're doing on ourselves is not, wasteful. It is so great. We are making changes. Anyway, I keep getting excited and running off there. So another thing is that I'm less outwardly people-pleasing, and very intentional. And I feel that all these dot points to this very one are so true. I move forward when the facts support it, not when the mood strikes. Hello. I have been talking and teaching others and training myself to show up even when I don't want to. I mean, how many times do you not want to do something? Not go to the gym, not do that email, not read that article, not write that blog post, not do that podcast recording. So many times. But if it's on my calendar, I now get it done. And I just didn't realize how different I am from 2019. Like, seriously. I'm just going to read you those again. So I lead with conscientiousness. I'm structured. I'm precise. I'm deeply focused on execution. I love accuracy, process, and results over emotion. Can't get over that one. I'm less outwardly people-pleasing and very intentional. I move forward when the facts support it, not when the mood strikes. So I'm just doing stuff because it needs to get done and I want it to get done. I don't have to wait to feel inspired to do it. Oh my God, this blew my mind. Just take a breath, Prue. This is exciting stuff. Because I did feel the change. Over these years, you sort of forget, like when something becomes new, a new way you do things, you do forget how you did it the old way. Like that identity does melt away. And I did feel it, but I just didn't really fully comprehend it, I suppose. You know, like when it goes from hot to cool to cold, like you just gradually get used to it, so you don't really take much notice. It's exactly the same as personal growth. But now that I see it on paper, it's just so obvious, and that is why I'm so excited about it. So you might be thinking, but how did you change? Like what were the dot points in between from you not, having any sort of structure in your life to now being able to follow through with what means something to you? I'm here to tell you that because I want you to have this experience as well. I want you to take an assessment and have some sort of tangible result and be like, oh my God, I was like that once and now I'm like this. I can't believe the difference in me. This work has paid off. Let me tell you how I did it and encourage others to do it as well. Because I didn't wake up one day and just become someone magically that loves systems, that loves checklists and planning. In fact, it used to drive me mad because I had the problem of not following through. And every time I went looking for a solution, someone was like, you just have to have a structure. You just have to have a plan. You have to set goals and like review them and have a few checklists and systems. And I was like, please, somebody tell me something different because I don't want that. I'm like, I don't like to have structure because it dampens my creativity and, just puts like wheel locks on me. Like I used to get so frustrated at that. So you can imagine that when that was the solution and I was like resistant to the solution, I was so frustrated all the time until I decided, well, actually, let's give this a go. Turns out it works. Turns out it is the solution to the problem that I was having. And I had to change my thoughts and my identity around that to allow myself to even give it a go. So I had to teach myself to become someone who follows through. And here is how I did it. The first thing is identity work. You've heard me speak about it most probably a million times before. I started telling myself, I can be someone who finishes what she starts. I am somebody that shows up when she says she's going to show up. And I stopped saying things like, I'm just not detail orientated, or I'm just not a planner. I don't like structure. Structure stifles my creativity and really just makes me feel like locked in to my life. I stopped saying stuff like that because it was the thing holding me back from my own success. I then used tools, and the biggest tool that I used was the model. You've heard me talk about this before too. It's the model that Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School created, and way back in, I'm thinking 2018, I discovered the model, which then led me into coaching because the model changed my life. So I was like, okay, do models often, coach myself constantly, which is what the model does. It's a self-coaching model. So you can sit with your own thoughts and you don't particularly need a coach sometimes to do the coaching for yourself. And it's really fantastic. I watched my thoughts. I changed and managed and challenged my excuses that I had. And I practiced choosing new thoughts. I practiced doing new actions. I practiced picking and like setting goals and results and reverse engineering the model so I could create the life that I wanted. I was committed to building that. I was like, okay, whatever I've done for the last 40 years wasn't working. Let's do something different. And I just committed to doing something different. I kept putting myself over these last few years in the most uncomfortable situations ever. Most of the rooms I've been in throughout this journey, and especially the ones that I've been in since moving to the Gold Coast, I felt really uncomfortable in. And believe me, it showed as well. In those rooms, it showed how uncomfortable I was, because I basically reverted back to my 5-year-old self. Not speaking, completely closed off, shy, just not myself at all. And that's a whole other story. But that's something else that I did. I kept putting myself into these spaces even when I was super uncomfortable, and just kept exposing myself to growth. And sometimes that growth meant going way back to my 5-year-old self, and then like stepping back into my 45-year-old self. So it was like this back and forth, and it's been a huge emotional roller coaster, and one that, I always say to people, like, last year was the hardest year of my life, and also I know it was the catalyst of change for me. Okay, so the next thing is grounded commitment. You've heard me talk about this too. It's like committing to something without the all or nothing mentality. No more relying on motivation. I anchored myself into grounded commitment. That sustainable, stable energy that keeps you showing up even when it's boring, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Again, all these things that we have to do. So grounded commitment, it's like understanding why I've got that goal, understanding why I'm doing these hard things. Because if you don't have an understanding about why you're doing these hard things, what's the point? You will just stay the same. The last thing is the proof jar. And even though I don't really use the proof jar as like a tangible jar anymore, I built a system that I now teach as the proof jar method. But I built this system of collecting evidence that I was becoming the new version of me. So these are small daily actions, one by one. That's what became the core of what I now teach inside the Finishers Club. It's building the proof that you can follow through, and like pulling on all the positive feedback that you are following through, because our brain loves to put all the wins aside and just focus on all the negatives. So you have to build a system of collecting the information to give you the tangible proof that you are doing the things that you say you're going to do. That's what I do on my own personal growth too. And last year, as I said, was such a hard year for me. And throughout my whole entire life, I've been a journaler, always have had a diary or a journal of some sort. I stop and start. It's not like a consistent everyday thing. But there was a time last year where I picked up my journal that I currently had, and I looked at it, and it just wasn't filling me with any sort of joy, because what I was reading back in that journal, or even what I was like giving that journal, the poor journal had nothing to do with it. It's beautiful. But me, the person contributing the data and the information into that journal, was so negative. She was in complete victim mentality and really just super sad. And she's not the person that I wanted to be. So I decided I'm starting fresh. I'm going to get rid of this journal, because I feel every time I pick it up, I step back into that mentality of the poor me, get the violin out mentality. And I don't want to be that person. I don't like people that are constantly complaining and whinging and pointing the fingers at others to why their life isn't the way it is. And that's what that journal was full of. All the stories and all the entries were all like, woe is me. So I decided, you know what, it's time. I'm going to throw this journal out. It's like halfway finished. It's a beautiful journal and expensive, might I add. It's gorgeous. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out and buy myself a new one. I'm going to dispose of this one. So I ripped it all up and put it in the bin. I didn't burn it or anything at the time. And I just had one rule that I was going to follow with this new journal, because I was like, okay, this is like a line. I'm not doing this anymore. And the one rule for this new journal is spend time in who I know I am deeply. And like that means being truthful with myself, because the victim mentality, that's not me. I know that's not me. I'm such a positive and optimistic person by nature. That journal was just full of just like the opposite of that, the pessimistic version of me, and that wasn't helping. So it's like the one rule is spend time in who I know I am at my core. Yes, it still means being honest, because life isn't all full of sunshine, roses and unicorns. I know that. But be true. And spend more time in the person that I am and want to become and building to become, rather than all that other stuff. Because the truth was that this version of me, the woman that was fighting to get out of the victim mentality, like she was there fighting real hard, and I just wasn't allowing it. So I got rid of the new journal, started a fresh one, and now that journal is so much more positive. And the truth is I haven't actually used it for a while. It's been just sitting there. I haven't needed to use it for a while. But I just didn't want that misery to block and hold me back anymore. So that's what I did. I changed the journal and I journal. That's another little strategy that you can do. And that's proof as well. So proof can be go back flicking through those journals and reading what you were thinking and how you were thinking earlier and how you think now and how you problem solve now and how different they can be. I've still got journals from 2019 that I look back on, I'm like, oh yeah, look at that. Look how far my thinking has come from those journals to these journals. And back to the other collecting evidence system as well, my go-to evidence collecting now is a spreadsheet. I have like a daily habit spreadsheet and I've got all the things in there and I just tick them off and I collect data about when I'm doing things, when I'm not doing things, what was hard, what was easy, what could I do differently, all those things. So that's my biggest go-to measure now, is a spreadsheet. Okay, so you might be thinking, yeah, this is great, Prue, hearing about you and your change, but why does it matter for you and why is this important for you to hear? The thing about you and me is that we are not fixed. We are a reflection of how we operate today and our environment and especially our thoughts. And I believe in the growth mindset. So you are not just set in stone. You have the ability to change and be whoever you want within boundaries. Like, we can't change our innate personalities, and a lot of our values are also deeply rooted. But usually what we're doing is we're like living even outside of those. And yeah, that's a whole other podcast. I just want you to know that your results can and will change if you change, if you do the work. And if you're listening to this podcast, I know you are doing the work because you're here. Nobody that has a fixed mindset is listening to this podcast, okay? So that's the whole point. I personally built an entirely new way of working, thinking and living from the inside out, not from the outside in, from the inside out. And now I have the data to prove it. Like, the disc profile is just one piece of data. The journals are another piece of data. My habit trackers are another piece of data. I have changed dramatically from who I was in 2019. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, but I'm just not the type of person, ... I'm just not that organized enough. I can't follow through with anything. It's just not in my nature. I just want you to listen to those. Listen to those thoughts that you have about yourself and how fixed they are. Remember, growth mindset orientated here. Let me be the proof that you are wrong about this. You can change all that. You can change how you show up. If you've never been a person that has like structure, like me, you can learn to use it in your life and implement it for the better version of you. It takes just a few things. It takes commitment. It takes some structure. Yes, structure. It takes identity work and the willingness to build the muscle. The whole progress over perfection is really important here. One step at a time. You know, how you eat an elephant, just one bite at a time. It's just one small bit at a time. Like 2019, I didn't write down by 2025, Prue's going to be X, Y, and Z. No, you have to just do things in small increments, one small goal at a time. That's what we do inside the Finishers Club. We just take one tiny goal and we help you achieve it, and then you can go to the next one, and it builds all these things. It builds your commitment, it builds your structure, it builds your identity in yourself to who you want to be, not who you don't want to be anymore. And it definitely shows you that you have a willingness to build the muscle of all those things. And hell, if we look at it more deeply, I was the most nervous person I know. I have not met somebody that was as nervous as me. Maybe I have, but I haven't noticed. I couldn't speak in a crowd to save my life. I could not speak to camera to save my life. I've changed that. And if I can change it, you can change whatever it is that is holding you back from the life that you want and you want to love and you want to live as well. Because I'll be damned if I get to the end of my life and have regrets. Regrets of not trying something out because of the thought of failing at it or embarrassing myself. And that's a big hell no from me. I'm not doing that. I don't want you to do that either. So if this speaks to you and you want to become someone who follows through on what matters, come check out the Finishers Club. It's my absolutely no fluff system for doing what you said you were going to do, and it starts with building proof. You'll find some links to the show notes that will direct you to those pages, or you can just head to pruesulicic.com.au and scroll to my free mini course and get started there if you're not ready to commit with an investment just yet. And hey, if you've loved this episode, I want you to share it with a friend who's working on becoming their next level version of themselves. That would be so fantastic and would mean the world to me. And remember, you're not stuck. You're just building that new version of yourself, and it's possible and it takes time, but it's definitely worth it. You can just see the excitement in my face when I could see some tangible results from my own metrics about me as a person, and it is worth it to keep going to get that excitement and that evidence that you can change and become someone new. Okay, my friends, I hope that was helpful. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.